Dans cette vidéo, vous allez apprendre à conjuguer des centaines de verbes en français. In today's video, you're going to learn how to conjugate all regular verbs in French. Let's dive right into it. Bonjour et bienvenue sur chatpolyglotte, une chaîne dédiée aux langues et au plaisir de les apprendre. To understand how to conjugate all regular verbs in French, you need to understand a few things. First, what is regular verbs? Well, in French, verbs are divided in two large categories, regular and irregular. Les verbes réguliers and les verbes irréguliers. Alors, les verbes réguliers, what are they? What are regular verbs? Well, they're just verbs that follow a certain pattern. And irregular verbs are a little like those naughty kids in the class that just do their own thing. Irregular verbs are those that need to be memorized, but I can help you with regular verbs. You need to know just one conjugation to be able to do the others in the same basket. You're going to need to understand four terms. The first one, infinitive. Infinitive is just a verb. It's a complete verb which hasn't been conjugated. And that is our term number two. Conjugaison or conjugation. Conjugaison or conjugation is changing the verb according to the subject. Je, I, mange. Tu manges. I eat, you eat. But in English, do you say he eat? He eats. That is a conjugation. The third term is a base, a stem, or a radical. Une base. Base or a root or stem is part of the infinitive that we use to conjugate the verb. You'll understand better when you follow along. The fourth term, endings. Terminaison. Endings are letters we add at the end of the base, the root, to conjugate a verb. Today we are only going to focus on regular verbs because those have a pattern. Regular verbs are further divided in three categories, in three groups. The first group, les verbes du premier groupe. Verbs of the first group or verbs en ER. Les verbes en ER. And in this group, we're going to look at two different verb conjugations. The first one that we're looking at today is fermer. Fermer. Fermer is je ferme mon livre. Je ferme. Fermer is to close. Let's see how to conjugate any verb that ends in ER. Any verb that has an ER ending. Fermer. Emporter, manger, regarder, décider, accepter, réaliser. Let's take a look at the conjugation. You first need the infinitive, and in this case, it's the verb fermer. Then you're going to drop the ER. You're going to drop the ER from the infinitive, and it leaves you with FERM. FERM, which is the base, the base. So if you remember, I told you at the beginning that the base is what we use to make the conjugation. In this case, it is FERM. We're going to use this base to build up the whole conjugation. Fermer. We have the base. We know what the infinitive is. Now let's look at the conjugation. Je ferme. Tu fermes. Il ferme. Elle ferme. On ferme. Je ferme. Tu fermes. Il, elle, on ferme. Nous fermons. Nous fermons. Vous fermez. Il ferme. Attention, il ferme and not fermente. Fermente, fermant, ferme. Il ferme. Once we have this whole conjugation, you can see that there are endings, and those endings are E, ES, E, ONS, EZ, ENT. You only need to remember these endings, and you need to know that you drop the ER at these endings and you have the conjugation. Let's look at another verb in the same category, but this time it starts with a vowel and that changes only the first form. Emporter. Emporter is to take along with you. J'emporte. J'emporte. It's not je emporte, but j'emporte. Be careful with the pronunciation because a lot of students tend to say je emporte and the rest is the same, so try to do it with me. J'emporte, tu emportes, il, elle, on emporte. Nous emportons. Vous emportez. Ils emportent. Elles emportent. Did you notice that I did a z sound? When it's a vowel, we have to pronounce the last letter. So while we said nous fermons, with the verb emporter, we have to say nous emportons. Les verbes du deuxième groupe, les verbes en IR. Verbs that end in IR. For the second group of verbs, we're going to take the verb choisir. Choisir. As you can see, it ends in IR. To conjugate this verb or any verb that belongs to this group, you drop the IR from the infinitive. So we're left with CHOIS, and that is our base, that is our radical. To which we're going to add the endings. Je choisis, tu choisis, il, elle, on choisit, nous choisissons, vous choisissez, ils choisissent, ils choisissent. Notice once again how the ENT isn't pronounced. Les verbes du troisième groupe, the third group of verbs, or les verbes en RE. Les verbes en RE. Now a big disclaimer around here. French grammarians or purists will say that there is no third group of regular verbs because for them, all the verbs in the third group are irregular. However, you can still find a pattern in the third group of verbs, and for convenience purposes, I'm just going to talk about some verbs that have similar patterns in the third group. I'm more than happy to do a video on verbs that are irregular and belong to the third group. So if you're interested, please do let me know in the comments below. So some verbs like descendre, attendre, vendre, entendre, dépendre, all of them are considered to be regular RE verbs. Like the first two groups, you need to drop the RE from the infinitive to form the base that we'll use to conjugate. To understand the conjugation for this group, we're going to take the verb dépendre. Dépendre. It ends in RE, so we drop the RE to form dépend. And then we're going to add the endings to do the conjugation. Let's start. Je dépends, tu dépends, il, elle, on dépend, nous dépendons, vous dépendez, ils dépendent. Attention, here I'm pronouncing the D because it is dépendent, and then the ENT once again is not pronounced. Let's do a quick review to make sure you remember all the endings. We're soon proceeding to our quiz section where you're going to be able to use all that you learned today. So for the first group, that is the ER group, your endings are E, ES, E, ONS, EZ, ENT. For the second group, which is the IR verbs, your endings are ES, ES, IT, ESS, ONS, ESS, EZ, ESS, ENT. For the third group, S, S, rien, ONS, EZ, ENT. Now let's get to it. Once you're done, you can be proud of yourself because now you're going to be able to conjugate hundreds of regular verbs. And remember that these are the verbs that are used the most in day-to-day spoken French.
Première. Ma meilleure amie déménage au Danemark. 2. Ce parti politique vend des rêves. 3. Les gens qui travaillent dur réussissent la plupart de leurs projets. 4. Attends-tu ta mère? 5. Qu'est-ce que tu en penses? Bravo!
If you like this video, please do give it a like and subscribe. Activate the bell notification so I'm encouraged to make more videos. I'll see you in the next one.